Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our journey today with a fascinating exploration. On this first slide, you'll see the title, From Coastal Deserts to Mountain Peaks, and the subtitle, Unveiling Ancient Secrets, gives us a hint of what's ahead. Over the next few slides, we'll delve into the incredible civilization of the Andes, uncovering their history, culture, and mysteries. So let's get started and discover the wonders of this extraordinary civilization together. Answer: false. The Andes are actually the second highest mountain range in the world, coming after the Himalayas. When we think of the tallest mountains, we often think of Everest, but the Andes hold the title for the second highest. They stretch approximately 4,500 miles along the western coast of South America, from Colombia all the way down to Chile. The terrain here is quite challenging, steep, rocky, with soil that's often poor and difficult for agriculture. The highest elevations are covered in ice and snow year-round, which makes travel and habitation tough. Despite these harsh conditions, early cultures arose in this region, adapting to the rugged environment of the Andes. This has earned the Andes the nickname, the cradle of Andean civilizations, highlighting how human ingenuity thrived despite the difficult landscape. So, in the context of our overall theme, the Andes show us how geography shapes culture and history, even in the most challenging environments. So, to answer the question, what was the primary source of food for the first inhabitants of the Peruvian coast? The answer is seafood and small game. Now, let's put that into context. These early communities, around 1800 BC, were primarily hunter-gatherers. They relied heavily on the abundant resources from the sea, like fish and shellfish, as well as small land animals. Despite the harsh environment, hot, dry days and freezing nights, they managed to establish villages along the Pacific coast, especially in river valleys that cut through the desert. These valleys were crucial because they provided access to water and food sources, enabling them to settle and develop. It's also important to remember that the coastal plain is very narrow and mostly dry, making life on the edge of the desert quite challenging. Yet, these early inhabitants thrived by exploiting the natural resources available to them, which set the foundation for later civilizations in the region. The answer is the mountains. So, where did the Chavin civilization first emerge? On the coast or in the mountains? Well, it was actually in the mountains. During the Chavin period, which lasted from around 900 BC to 200 BC, this civilization became known as the mother culture of the region. Their community spread quickly through much of northern and central Peru, and the site they built included impressive pyramids, triangles, and massive earthen mounds. One of the most famous locations is Chavin de Huántar, named after the large ruin there, which is situated in the northern highlands of Peru. This region played a crucial role because it was the birthplace of a powerful and influential civilization, not on the coast as many might assume, but in the mountainous areas. This highlights how the mountains were a center for early cultural development in Peru and how the Chavin culture laid the groundwork for later civilizations in the region. So, one of the key points to understand about the Chavin civilization is that there's a lack of evidence for political or economic organization. This is really important because it suggests that their society was not structured around centralized government or commerce like we see in other civilizations. Instead, archaeologists believe that the Chavin were primarily a religious civilization. Why do they think that? Well, the evidence points to their religious significance rather than political power. For example, the widespread spread of their distinctive art styles and religious images. These are seen in stone carvings, pottery, and textiles, indicates that their spiritual ideas had a huge influence across the region. It's also worth noting that ancient Peruvians likely visited Chavin temples to pay respects and carry spiritual ideas back to their communities. This shows how religion was at the core of their culture and how their influence extended beyond their immediate society. In essence, the lack of political or economic evidence has led archaeologists to conclude that the Chavin culture was predominantly a religious one, focused on faith, spiritual practices, and religious symbolism. Their legacy, therefore, is one of faith and spiritual influence across the Andean region, shaping later civilizations and serving as a foundational mother culture of South America. Now, let's talk about two of the civilizations that emerged in Peru after the decline of the Chavin. The first is the Moche, which flourished in the northern coastal region of Peru. They are well known for their impressive ceramic art and complex irrigation systems. The second is the Nazca, who thrived further south along the coast. The Nazca are famous for their mysterious geoglyphs, the enormous designs etched into the desert floor. These societies didn't just appear out of nowhere. They built upon the cultural foundations that the Chavin had established. However, they also developed their own distinctive characteristics, which set them apart and made their contributions unique. As the Chavin culture started to decline, it's important to recognize that other powerful civilizations were emerging and flourishing in the Andes region. This period was truly a time of new horizons, where different societies expanded and innovated, shaping the rich tapestry of ancient Peruvian history. The answer to what famous geoglyphs the Nazca civilization is known for is the Nazca Lines. These are massive designs etched into the desert floor, and they feature a variety of images like animals, plants, and geometric shapes. What makes them truly fascinating is that they remain one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. No one is entirely sure how or why they were created, which adds to their allure. Now, beyond just the lines, the Nazca people were also incredibly skilled artisans. They produced intricate pottery and textiles that showcase their exceptional craftsmanship and artistic vision. These artifacts give us deeper insight into their culture, beliefs, and daily life. This all ties into the broader theme of how ancient societies adapted to their environments through innovation and cultural expression. The Nazca thrived in a harsh desert landscape, and their ability to create such impressive geoglyphs and art highlights their ingenuity. So, to sum up, the Nazca Lines are not only their most famous feature, but also a testament to their artistic mastery and cultural complexity. They remind us that even in challenging environments, people can develop remarkable ways to express themselves and leave a lasting legacy. So, when we think about what the Moche were famous for building to support their agriculture, the answer is sophisticated irrigation systems. These systems were really advanced for their time and allowed them to farm effectively in the arid coastal lands of northern Peru. This shows us just how impressive their engineering skills were. Now, it's also fascinating how their art reflects their everyday life. Their ceramics, for example, vividly depict scenes of daily activities, warfare, rituals, and religious ceremonies, all with remarkable detail. It's almost like a visual history of their society captured in clay. In addition to ceramics, the Moche were master metalworkers. They created highly realistic ceramic vessels and intricate metal objects, which demonstrates their high level of craftsmanship and artistic sophistication. All of these achievements, advanced irrigation, detailed art, and skilled metalwork, highlight how the Moche mastered their environment and expressed their culture through their art and engineering. Their civilization truly flourished in this northern coastal region, showcasing their ingenuity and cultural richness. The answer here is mother. So, when we fill in the blank, it reads, the Chavin are considered a mother culture in South America. Now, this term is quite significant because it highlights how influential the Chavin were in shaping later civilizations in the region. They served as a foundational culture, spreading religious ideas, artistic styles, and social organization that many subsequent societies, like the Nazca and Moche, built upon. It's important to understand that the Chavin thrived from around 900 to 200 BC, and their focus was really on religion and spiritual practices, which helped unify different groups across the Andean highlands. This unification under a shared religious framework is a key reason they're called a mother culture, because they laid the groundwork for future civilizations. Now, thinking about where they were located, the Chavin inhabited a rugged area in the high-altitude coastal desert of Peru, characterized by a harsh climate. Despite these tough environmental conditions, they managed to develop a sophisticated society in the Andes Mountains and the coastal plain. By understanding these key points, we see how the Chavin's influence extended far beyond their time, helping to shape the cultural landscape of South America. Let's take a closer look at some key features of the Andes. The Andes is a major mountain range in South America, and it has a number of peaks that soar over 20,000 feet in elevation. This fact highlights just how towering and formidable these mountains are. Moving on, ancient Peruvians are believed to have visited the Chavin temples, which were likely important religious centers where they paid their respects and engaged in spiritual practices. Interestingly, the Chavin period marks the rise of one of the earliest influential civilizations in South America. Unlike many early civilizations that developed along coastal areas, the Chavin civilization arose in the mountains, specifically in the northern part of what is now Peru. This geographic location is significant because it shows that early societies could thrive in harsh environments, despite the challenges. And speaking of environments, it's worth noting that the environment in the Andes was quite harsh, making it a tough place for early civilizations to develop. Yet, the fact that civilizations like Chavin emerged here demonstrates their resilience and adaptability. This all ties back to our overall theme of how geography shaped civilization. The Andes, with its high peaks and challenging environment, played a crucial role in shaping the development of early cultures in South America. Let's take a moment to explore some fascinating aspects of ancient civilizations. First, when we compare the Chavin to other Mesoamerican cultures, it's often the Olmecs that come to mind. The Olmecs are considered one of the earliest complex societies in the region, and their influence can be seen in later cultures. Next, looking at the Chavin civilization, archaeologists have studied their artifacts and site layouts, and what stands out is the lack of clear evidence for political or economic structures. This absence suggests that the Chavin were primarily a religious society, centered around spiritual beliefs and ceremonies rather than organized governance or trade. Moving further back in time, between 3600 and 2500 BC, we see the emergence of villages along the Pacific coast. These early communities were established by hunter-gatherers who began settling down, which laid the groundwork for more complex societies later on. Geographically, the narrow coastal plain of Peru is situated between two major features, the towering Andes Mountains and the vast Pacific Ocean. This unique location played a significant role in shaping the region's climate, resources, and development. Finally, the Andes Mountains stretch for roughly 4,500 miles, making them one of the longest mountain ranges in the world. Their extensive length has greatly influenced the cultures and environments of South America, from high-altitude agriculture to diverse ecosystems. All these points tie back to our overall theme of understanding how geography, environment, and cultural development are interconnected in shaping human history. Let's explore the rich history of the Inca Empire, which represents the ultimate expression of Andean civilization. The story doesn't end there, though. After the Incas, other civilizations like Tiwanaku and Wari built upon these earlier foundations, each contributing unique developments to the cultural landscape. When we look at further exploration, we see how the Nazca and Moche civilizations showcased how different regions within the Andes developed their own distinct characteristics, yet still maintained important cultural connections that linked them together. Moving on to regional specialization, the Chavin civilization laid crucial cultural and religious groundwork that influenced many societies that followed, helping to shape the broader Andean cultural identity. Throughout all of this, what's truly remarkable is how these civilizations overcame some of the most challenging environments on Earth to create complex, sophisticated societies. Their enduring legacy continues to influence South American history to this day, highlighting the resilience and ingenuity of the Andean peoples.